Greetings, fratres and sorors, and welcome to the Wednesday Rosicrucian teleconference. My name is Ese Magege, and I will be your presenter today. It's my first time here on the teleconference, on the Wednesday teleconference. So I will introduce myself, but first I would love to thank Grandmaster for having me here today. I am a Colum Emeritus. I served at a Rosicrucian lodge in Nigeria called Kutumi Lodge in Delta State, Warri. And professionally, I wear a few hats. My most recent accomplishment is the attainment of my doctorate degree in medical science. My intent is to contribute to closing the gap between science and spirituality. So most of the presentations I will be doing will be talking about science and spirituality. Without further ado, let me go into the exciting content we have for you today. So give me a second to share my slides. So we're going to be talking about evolving happiness, practical ways to increase happiness, part 1. Next week, Wednesday, same time, we're going to be doing the part 2 of evolving happiness. And at the end of this presentation, we will go into details what we're going to be covering for part 2. So in 1937, two brilliant physicians, Dr. Bach and Dr. Heath, decided to study the best and the brightest. Little did they know that the study will continue for greater than 80 years and still ongoing. It is the longest longitudinal study reported in history. And one of the factors they studied is relationship. So they studied Harvard undergraduates, and as they aged, they followed them as they aged and made their families, followed their families too, and it's still ongoing. And what they found out in the study is that consistently throughout these 80 years, right, positive relationship contributed to a happy life. This information from the study is very important because it shifts our focus and priority to the things that are important in life. So why does positive relationship contribute to a happy life? Before we answer that question, let's look at what other pioneers say makes happy people happy. We already mentioned the Harvard study showed that positive relationship was one of the factors that caused happiness. Maslow's hierarchy of needs attributes self-actualization to as one of the causes of happiness. Seligman points to having a good life or a meaningful life as a cause of happiness. And other scientists point to being in a flow state as a cause of happiness. So who is right? They're all right. They're all saying the same thing. They're all pointing to an underlying factor as a cause of happiness. So we're going to look at one of these items on the list, and we're going to dissect it and see and reveal this underlying factor. So let's look at the spiritual dimension of a positive relationship to see if we can reveal this underlying factor. When we say what is light, what is spiritual light? What is light? According to our studies, our Rosicrucian studies, light is a positive quality of the universe. It is of the divine. And its expression vary depending on the condition of the vehicle. So take, for instance, if you shine a flashlight through a dark glass, the light revealed will be hindered, right? If you shine a flashlight through a dark container, it's not going to reveal much light. But if you shine a flashlight through a transparent glass, more light is revealed compared to the dark glass. Similarly, the light is available all around us and in us. And the extent that that light shines within us varies depending on the conditions of our thoughts, our emotions, our actions on other vehicles. So when we say positive relationship, in a positive relationship, we are expressing the positive quality of the universe. So I emphasize positive. In positive relationship, we are expressing the positive qualities of the universe, the positive qualities of our soul. And when we do that, we're expressing light. And when we express light, happiness is the result. The creative forces or the natural forces are only constructive. Our innate nature is only positive and constructive. When we live out of our nature, we're no longer positive and constructive, and unhappiness occurs. So positive relationships allow us to express light, be positive and constructive, be our true nature, develop our divine qualities, the soul virtues, and live in accordance with the law of good. Let's summarize this into one sentence. Happiness is a state of consciousness that results from the good we do. When we do good to others, we experience an expanded state of consciousness. We are positive and constructive, and we express greater light. So happiness is as a result of the good we do. So let's go back to what the scientists are saying, if this matches with our spiritual teachings. So, as we stated before, the Harvard study showed that positive relationships is a major contributor to happiness. Maslow points to self-actualization, right? And Seligman points to the good life. And others point to the flow state being a cause of happiness. All of this is pointing to one underlying factor, which is when we express light, through our various vehicles, happiness occurs. So it is pointing to the perfection of our expressions, right? So that this light is fully revealed. And all of this mentioned helps us in revealing our light. So, to have lasting happiness, we need a practice. Think of it like this. In a house where you have electricity, and to put the electricity to use, you will have to turn on the switch. And that switch activates the electricity, right? To produce light in the light, in your bulb light, right? In your bulb. So that turning on the switch, right, takes the electricity from a state or from a dormant state into a dynamic state, right? Similarly, when we practice happiness, we are engaging the light that is available. We have light all around us, in us, right? But we have to engage it. The extent at which we engage it, the extent at which we interact with it, right, gives us the lasting happiness. So that act of practicing happiness is what we call positive relationship. Positive relationships allow us to practice happiness, to engage, to continuously and regularly engage the light, to take it from a dormant state to a dynamic state, metaphorically speaking. So, what is this practice? Nurturing meaningful, positive relationships, as I said earlier, and regular daily meditation, cosmic attunement. But it can be easier said than done, right? How do we nurture meaningful, positive relationships with others? We have so many different personalities. How do we nurture meaningful, positive relationships? And that is where practice comes in. And that is where your spiritual tools comes in as well. So before we go into how we nurture meaningful relationships, let us dive in further and explore what relationship really is. What is a relationship? A relationship is a continuous exchange of energy on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. And there are different types of relationships. We have relationship with our parents, we have relationship with our kids, we have relationship with our siblings, we have relationship with our co-workers. And these are influenced by time and space, right? The more time we spend with these people, with our loved ones, co-workers, right? The tighter the bond, the more the exchange of energy on these levels and various levels, right? And the tighter the bond. Distance also affects it. The distance, the further distance away we are, right? We tend to lose touch as well, right? So relationships are tools for inner transformation because they allow us to perfect our expressions. And we have various levels at which we express ourselves, right? We have our thoughts, feelings, words, speech, actions. So relationships allow us to perfect our expressions so that the light that is within us is fully revealed. One of the things that hinder the expression of the light is our personality, and our thoughts, emotions make up our personality. So the degree at which the light shines within each one of us varies depending on the conditions of our thoughts and our emotions, and which makes up our personality. Personality is the difference in the expression of the soul. The difference in the expression of the soul makes up our personality. Our personality can hinder the expression of our soul. So take, for instance, the example I mentioned earlier about shining the light through the dark container, right? So our personality is that container. If that container, depending on the nature of that container, depends on how much light we can shine through it. So what does this have to do? What does personality have to do with relationships? It has everything to do with relationships. Because in relationship, as we said earlier, there's a continuous exchange of energy on various levels, right? And we also mentioned that in relationship, we are given light. And if our personality hinders the expression of that light, it affects our relationships. So personality has everything to do with relationships. So what are the qualities of a good relationship? So let's make this practical. Think of a person that you have a great relationship with. What are the qualities you like in this person? Are they caring, giving, a good listener, understanding perhaps, patience? All of these are good qualities of a relationship, right? In the next few slides, we're going to explain this in further detail. But for now, let us identify our qualities, our good qualities. So make a list of your strongest relationships. And then state why they're your strongest relationships. So for me, for instance, my strongest relationship is the relationship I have with myself. And this came with time. This realization came with time. I was not always like this. And one of the things that I enjoy the most, especially on my days off, is studying the teachings. I can literally go the whole day, like totally lost in time, just studying. And why I enjoy it so much is that our teachings, the reciprocation teachings, provide me the roadmap into knowing myself, discovering new things about myself. So I enjoy finding something new about myself, right? Through the applications of our teachings. So why? Why is it my strongest relationship? It is my strongest relationship because it puts me in a state of flow. I can go days just reading spiritual materials without being not even aware of the time. So my strongest relationship, my strongest, why they're my strongest relationship? The teachings give me discipline. So I'll say discipline is one of them. Two, it puts me in a state of flow, a creative state, right? So creativity is one of my strongest strengths as well. So similarly, I would like you to list what your strongest relationships are and why they are your strongest relationship. And gradually you begin to reveal your strengths. Also, we would like to identify our weak qualities. So take a minute and make a list of your weak relationships, your not so good relationships. And why are they your weak relationships? I would like to preference here that we all have strong and weak relationships, challenging relationships. And my personal experience has been my challenging relationships have actually come to see that they are blessings because it awoken me to the realization of who the true owner is, right? So the true owner being the divine. So it awoken me to a greater appreciation of my stronger relationships. And that's the beauty in contrast. We need contrast to get value. So without the challenging or the weak relationships, right, at least for me, I would not appreciate my strong relationships. So what my weak relationships revealed to me is the need to release control, the need to trust in a higher power, the need to allow the process. Because sometimes, at least for me, it's always you want to know, like, as much as possible what's going to happen. Like, okay, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I don't do this, this is going to happen. So you try, and it puts you in a constant state, a conflicted mind of like, no, I have to do this. Don't do this, then this. So it gives you a sense of control. Like, so it brought my awareness to that, and my awareness to let him be. So what are the qualities of a good relationship? The qualities of a good relationship are the virtues of the soul. And the virtues of the soul are the faculties of the soul, right? So it's like a portion of the soul. And it's an extension, and our teachings tells us it's an extension of wisdom. So love is wisdom, compassion, goodness, humility. When we're expressing humility, right on the contrary, right, we'll tend to think, oh, I don't want to be, I don't want people to take me for granted if I'm so humble. No, it's actually the opposite. You're actually expressing a greater intelligence, right? So humility, sincerity, perfection, patience, tolerance, generosity, kindness, all of these are virtues of the soul, and they're much more. And these are qualities of a good relationship. And they all lie within us. And when we express this to our partners, to our kids, to our parents, to our co-workers, we're expressing a greater wisdom. So what is the purpose of a relationship? When I did a similar presentation, the common responses I got was the purpose of being in a relationship would be, for instance, for financial stability, right? For growth, for family, right? Was one, right? For some sort of expansion. Okay, I want to grow. I want to grow in some way, right? So I categorized it into growth and expansion. And some responses were to be careful and be loved, right? So to be able to share my emotions. And that goes into the category of to nurture, right? And then some gave responses like, I want to feel connected. I want to share. Um, I want to. So the responses basically were pointing to a sense of connection. And there's so many more, but we're going to focus on these three: the growth and expansion as one, to nurture, and a sense of connectedness. And if you look closely, we realize that these are all benefits that we get from the light, right? So in other words, the light is being channeled through through us. And the actual source is not us, it's the light. So, but sometimes it's easy to forget, right? We lose, we tend to attribute it to the person, right? No, it is this person that is giving me financial security. It is this person that makes me feel complete. It is this person that makes me feel happy and all of that. And yes, that is true, but we should also remember that they are channels of the light. And the actual ownership goes to the light. The actual source is the light that is being channeled. So the reason why I point this out is that when that person no longer fulfills that financial stability, fulfills that love and nurture, we don't get frustrated and say, oh, you know what, this person, it's a bad person. No, because the light is the channel. And that light can use anyone to fulfill that light, to fulfill the growth, the expansion, the nurture, the sense of connection. So the focus is on the light. The point I'm trying to make is the focus is on the light. And that way we can continue to be and give unconditionally without being dependent on the personality of the person. So you see, there's a shift in focus, right? And it allows us to give without any reservation of feeling a sense of feeling restricted in any way, okay, or giving and expecting something in return. So it removes that once we realize that it's the light that's providing us these things, that the light is being channeled through that person. Okay, so let us move on. So what is the true purpose of a relationship? The true purpose of a relationship is to evolve us towards the awareness of the soul. So now we've known what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. Let us reflect on what our triggers are. So how do we react when things or situations don't go as we expect. For me, I withdraw, right? When things don't go as expected, I withdraw. And I used to take the exit. But with maturity, that changed. With self-awareness, that changed. But yes, that used to be me. I will withdraw and I take the next exit. So what is your triggers, right? How do you react when things or situations don't go as expected? It is good to know these things. That way they lose control over us. But if we don't know what these things are, they tend to reoccur and reoccur and tend to limit us from being our full potential. So being the light in challenging times, and this is a tough one, right? How do we be the light when things are negative? How? It's challenging. So let us do this in a meditation. Let us reflect on these questions during a meditation. So brothers and sisters, sit relaxed and eyes closed. Take in several deep neutral breaths. Completely relaxing your body with each breath. Visualize in front of you, about 12 foot in front of you, a whiteboard, a large whiteboard. Now recall a triggering situation, a situation that made you feel uncomfortable. Let it play in the whiteboard like a movie. What was your initial thought just before the discomfort? Or what was your initial thought just before the trigger? Projected on the whiteboard. How did you feel after you had that thought? What was the emotion produced as a result of thinking so? Project it on the whiteboard. What was the action that resulted as a result of having this thought and emotion? Perhaps we said unkind words. Perhaps our actions were not loving. Whatever our actions were projected on the whiteboard. Now visualize an eraser, the color of the sky, exactly the color of the sky. Take this sky blue eraser and erase the thoughts, the emotions, and the actions on the whiteboard. Just gently erase. And as you do so, mentally say with me, cosmic, assist me with eradicating these negative thoughts, emotions, and actions from within my system. Now, replace with the qualities that you would like to possess. See yourself acting, speaking in love, in compassion, in kindness, in consideration, in patience. Whatever quality that you desire, see yourself in full possession of this quality. And as you visualize so, see the light of the cosmic completely filling our minds, completely filling our entire being. Now let's repeat this exercise 2 more times. On the blackboard, in front of you, project the thought, the initial thought that you had just prior to being triggered or prior to having the uncomfortable emotion. Project the emotion that resulted as a result of thinking this thought. Project it on the whiteboard. Project the action that resulted as a result of the thoughts and the emotions produced. Perhaps we said unkind words. Perhaps we acted unkindly. Project it on the whiteboard. Visualize a sky blue eraser, the exact color of the sky, and slowly erase these negative thoughts, emotions, and actions on the whiteboard. As you do so, mentally say, cosmic, assist me with eradicating these negative thoughts, emotions, and actions from within my system. Visualize a bright light, bright cosmic light, filling our minds and our entire being. See ourselves in possession of the quality that we desire. Perhaps patience, perhaps kindness, tolerance, understanding, consideration, non-judgment. See yourself in complete possession of these qualities. Now let us repeat this one last time. Project on the whiteboard the initial thought you had that triggered you. The initial thought just before the discomfort. Project it on the whiteboard. Project the uncomfortable emotion we had as a result of thinking this thought. Project the action that resulted from thinking this thought and having this emotion. Perhaps we said things that were unkind, or we acted in an unkind way. Project it on the whiteboard. Visualize a sky blue eraser and gently erase these negative thoughts, emotions, and actions on the whiteboard. And mentally say, Cosmic, please assist me in eradicating these negative thoughts, emotions, and actions. See yourself filled with a bright cosmic light, filling our minds and our entire being. See yourself in possession of the qualities that you desire. Perhaps love, kindness, humility, tolerance, patience. See yourself in full possession of these qualities. See yourself expressing these qualities in your words, in your thoughts, in your actions. When you're ready, you may slowly open your eyes. How do you feel? You realize that the more we do this, the more we let go of negative thoughts and emotions, the lighter we feel. So I love this practice. It helps me focus. And you can do it more than, you do 3 times in a row, 7 times. But for me, I find it helpful, very helpful in reducing my impulses. You might have different spiritual tools, but our spiritual tools, whatever works for you, they help us to control our reactivity. So whatever tools that we use and that's an example of spiritual alchemy, elevating from a negative emotion to a positive emotion, or changing our thoughts from a negative thought to a positive thought. But whatever tool that we use, there's certain principles that it should have. So it's an application of the principles. The tools should allow us to apply these principles. And one of the principles is consciousness acts on matter, right? Matter reacts on consciousness. So our consciousness of things is what's important. Is our consciousness of things is most relevant and not the things themselves. And that's what we're doing, right? In the exercise we just did, we are changing our thoughts, right? We are changing our consciousness. And we are going to talk more about consciousness. We'll go in depth in part 2 of this presentation. We'll talk more about that at the end. The other principle to keep in mind is that all that comes into physical manifestation is first patterned in mind. And that's why it's important to work on our consciousness. It's important to work on ourselves, because what we project, what we think of people, actually, we project what we think of people. So when we are having conflict, it's important that we work first on our thoughts, what we think of people and what we feel about people, right? We're working on our own consciousness. And remember, we said consciousness acts on matter. And it's our consciousness of things that is most relevant, not the things themselves. And also, in harmonizing relationships, we also have to remember that we are one spiritually. And what that means is, take for instance, let's close our eyes briefly and visualize that person we had a conflict with or an argument with, and just visualize them, their body melting. What remains? It's void, it's space, right? And we are all that empty space, that light. We are all one. So at the end of the day, when the body melts away, we become one. And when we start to shift our focus on that oneness, we close the gap for negativity to occur in our relationships, because we start to treat the other person as ourselves. So we already talked about the law of good. And these are all principles that we can apply in harmonizing our relationships. The law of good, happiness results from the good we do to others. So what are the spiritual benefits of a good relationship? A good relationship allows us to perfect our characters. A good relationship allows us to elevate our egos. It allows us to remove limitation and the cause of unhappiness, because we are revealing light. A good relationship allows us to be better channels for the expression of our soul's virtues. So the spiritual laws to create lasting happiness in our relationships comes down to 2 things. Be positive and constructive in all our expressions. Always do good. And this is apparent in the saying, love thy neighbor as thyself. Let us remember that to achieve cosmic illumination, we require 7 states of consciousness. Mastering relationships allow us to achieve this consciousness. Mastering relationship allows us to achieve consciousness of our emotions so as to master our impulses. Mastering relationships allows us to achieve consciousness of our intelligence so as to reason in truth. Mastering our relationships allow us to achieve consciousness of our will so as to pass from knowledge to actions. In part 2 of this presentation, we're going to be talking about consciousness. Everything is consciousness, but what is consciousness? We're going to be talking about the different levels of mind. We're going to be talking about what occurs in the levels of mind that result to the manifestation of a harmonious relationship. We're going to dive deep into virtues, and we're going to explore the causes of, or the limitations, or put in other words, what are those things, what are those factors that prevent us from fully expressing these virtues? So for instance, we have various bodies. When I say bodies, I'm not referring to the physical body alone. I'll have our mental bodies, our emotional bodies, our physical bodies, and all of these bodies have tendencies, their own tendencies. And how can we use our innate powers, such as the will and intelligence, to train these different bodies so that the tendencies do not control us? Okay, so we're going to dive deep into these things in part 2 of this presentation. I will encourage our fratres and sorors to ask questions when this video is posted. And we will try our best to answer all of these questions in the part 2 of this presentation. So let us do a closing meditation. Fratres and sorors, please sit relax and your hands unclasped on your thighs. Take in several deep neutral breaths. And as you breathe in, feel your body completely relaxing. Hold your hands in front of you with your hands turned upwards, facing the sky. And mentally say with me, may universal love infuse my entire being. Take in a deep breath and hold it. Now visualize the planet Earth in front of you. Turn your hands towards the image of the planet Earth and say, mentally say with me, may universal love infuse the whole surface of the earth and to all my brothers and sisters, and slowly exhale as you do so. Now we're going to repeat this exercise 2 more times. Turn your hands upwards, pointing towards the sky, and mentally say with me, may universal love infuse my entire being. Take in a deep breath and hold it. And now visualize the planet Earth in front of you. Turn your hands pointing towards this image of planet Earth. And as you exhale, mentally say with me, may universal love infuse all of the stuff all over the surface of the earth and to all my brothers and sisters. Just repeat it one last time. Turn your hands upwards, facing the sky. Mentally say with me, may universal love infuse my entire being. Take a deep breath, hold, visualize the planet Earth in front of you. Turn your hands facing the visualized image of planet Earth. And as you exhale, slowly say with me, may universal love infuse all over the surface of the earth and to all my brothers and sisters. So mote it be. So mote it be. Thank you, Francis and Soros, for spending your time with us today. I wish you peace profound.